welcome back to the second annual Halloween special. Today, we're going to be taking a look at The Hunger by Richard Garfield and published by Origames and Renegade Game Studios. Let's have a look at the back here and see what this is about. Hunt your prey with vampiric might, but return to the castle before the sun rises. Race across the board. Hunt the most precious prey and find the eternal rose. Hunt the right cards to fit your strategy and build your deck. Search crypts for missions, but beware of bad hunts that may slow you down. And make sure you return back at the castle. Very interesting concept. I like deck building games, and this is the first game that I know of that you actually play as a vampire trying to hunt people. So that's interesting. So I am curious to see what all is here. So with all that said, let's have a look and see what The Hunger has to offer us. The game comes with a fairly standard size board to represent the land that the players will be traversing trying to hunt their prey. There is a single path that splits off and reconnects a couple times as it swirls around the board, leading all the way up to the castle. And there are several locations that the players can stop at along the way, ranging from graveyards to barracks to farms to a whole bunch of little villages, and even a couple special buildings like this little church, or what looks like a little dockyard over there, or maybe like a little pier area right here, and a bunch of extra little stuff. One thing to note though is that the board I showed you is actually one half of the board. The board is actually double-sided with another board shown on the back as the B side. Although upon an initial look, it does seem like the B side of the board does look exactly the same as the A side. But there could be some changes to it that I'm not seeing. There are 6 vampire sheets that come with the game, and these are basically going to represent the players. On one side you have just a plain character portrait with a space on each of the sides for your deck, your discard, your playing area, and your digest, which is basically cards that you eat. And on the other side is basically the same thing, except it actually has a little spot on the side for bonus tokens that you collect throughout the game. And these are the exact same in regards to the layout for all the various characters. Obviously, since there is a score track, you need score markers, and the game does come with them. A whole bunch of them, in fact, one for each of the characters, and they have a blank side and then a 100 side, just in case you manage to get a score over 100. And I gotta say though, I do not like the idea of having them all painted in white, especially on the yellow side. You can barely make that out as 100 on the token, and the only way you can really see that and know that it's 100 is because that's what all the rest of these are. There's what's known as a moon board that comes with the game, and this, I think, has 2 purposes. One I am certain of, and it has this track up here that shows 1 to 15 moons. This is going to represent how much time you have to get back to the castle before the sun rises. So the game is going to last 15 rounds. And this, I'm assuming, is going to be a chart that will allow you to collect extra cards for your decks. There's also some extensions to the main board, which I assume is going to be added to the board to expand the options that you will have for cards to pick up depending on the number of players. And of course, since there is a track with a moon, the game does come with a moon token that you will use on the moon track. There's also these vampire tokens that are going to represent the players, one for each player, and this is basically going to represent your character as it moves throughout the board. And while I do understand why they did paint the faces on rather than etch them in, it's a lot easier to do so, but I do feel the need to point out that because that they're just simply painted on, it's going to be a lot easier to rub them off as you handle them. There are 6 starting decks of cards, 1 deck for each player, and you'll be able to tell that it's starting cards because it actually has the portrait of the vampire or the character in the bottom left corner. Each of these has a few bits of information that you'll need to know. The top left corner indicates the speed value of the card. On the bottom here, obviously, is an effect that can happen when you play it. And on the bottom right here is a symbol to identify what type of card it actually is. There is what's known as power cards that come with the game, and these are similar to the starting cards that the players have, but there is a couple style changes, mainly the fact that the title and the little bar on the power cards are gray, whereas the starting ones are gold. But the big difference is that in the bottom left corner, whereas the starting cards have a little portrait of the vampire, on the power cards, they actually have a symbol in the bottom left corner, some of them at least, some of them don't, to indicate what type of category that type of card belongs to. There are also 4 stacks of what's known as human cards, and these are also similar to the power cards, but also a couple differences. The main difference is that these are actually worth points if you can manage to eat them. And you'll be able to tell what points they're worth with this little symbol in the top right corner that's a blood drop. That indicates the amount of points that they're actually worth. That point value is also listed in the bottom left hand corner just above the category symbol. Apart from the point values, the human cards are pretty much the same as the power cards. You have the speed value listed in the top left. You have the little effect in the bottom of the middle that can happen whenever you play them. You also have the category in the bottom left hand corner, and in the bottom right hand corner you have the type of card that they are, with the humans being 4 different types: the noble in the blue, military, villager, and religious. There's another deck of cards where in the bottom right corner shows a paw symbol, and these are known as familiars, which I'm assuming are going to be creatures that you can be able to collect that will give you a special ability that can help you try to eat your prey. There are 3 rose cards that come with the game, and these are actually considered items that you want to try to collect, and you can tell it's an item because it has a hand symbol in the bottom right corner. Apart from that, these are pretty much the same. You have point values in the top right and bottom left corner, a speed value in the top left, an ability at the bottom in the middle, and then a category symbol in the bottom left. There are 5 of what's known as castle tiles, and I'm assuming, based on the fact that it shows the point symbol, these are a way to get bonus points if you actually manage to get to the castle before the end of the game, and these go from 2 to 10, so I'm assuming that if you manage to get to the castle first, you take the 10-point symbol, and it just keeps going down and down until you get the 2-point symbol. There are a whole bunch of mission tiles, more than I'll be showing here, and these are another way to get bonus points at the end of the game if you manage to satisfy the condition on the tile. For example, this one says gain a point for each different power card you've hunted, or gain a point for each familiar that you've hunted, or gain 10 points if you have the lowest score before the missions are scored. And they come in 2 different types: the regular missions and then these instant missions, which, as I said, are basically instant when you get, are basically ways to get them. You who get these things, and then if you satisfy the condition on it, you immediately discard it, and then you get the benefit from completing the instant mission. And then finally, there are these bonus tiles. You may notice on the board there are a whole bunch of treasure chests that are on the board, and whenever you stop there, I'm assuming that will be an opportunity for you to pick up one of these bonus tiles. Each of these, what looks like, are going to be worth 2 points at the end of the game, but on the back of each of these has a bonus effect that you can use to gain some benefit for yourself. And then, of course, the rulebook. So that is everything you will get if you obtain the Hunger. I hope you all enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a big thumbs up. If you want to learn how to play The Hunger, or if you want to know my thoughts on it, make sure you subscribe to the channel for more tutorials, reviews, and unboxings. Thank you all as always so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.